G'day everyone and welcome to another episode of MSA News. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We've got a big show coming up. Eloise Southby, our netball head coach, will join us to have a chat about her career as a netballer. We'll also speak about the return to school in a couple of weeks' time with Mark McAllion, our sports director, and also Nick Scott, our school principal, to join us for a chat as well. And don't forget, the biggest part of the program right at the end, our challenge section. Let's kick it off. All right, joining us for a chat this week is one of our head coaches. She's the head coach of our netball program at Maribyrnong Sports Academy, Eloise Southby. G'day, Eloise. How are you?
Yeah, good.
How's this period of time treated you and your family?
Look, I've actually tried to practice the art of gratefulness the whole time through. I think initially I was really struggling with it. I'm a blended family, 4 kids at home. But look, I think overall now that we're kind of 8 weeks in, we've kind of got ourselves into a routine, which is what happens in life. And once the dust settles, you learn, to cope with things a lot better. And you know what? Keeping fit and active, I've really made that one of my priorities. Has got me through. So training, I've got myself a lot fitter. So even started running around the Maribyrnong, which is where I live, right next to where the school is. So it's been a really good time for that.
Fantastic. Let's go back to your early career. You were the daughter of a Carlton footballer. You played netball. Did you learn a lot from Dad in regards to the habits that you needed to have to be an elite athlete?
Well, look, I think when you grow up in that environment where you have an elite athlete as a parent, or maybe an older sibling or something like that, but certainly with my dad, I suppose I watched him being very committed to, every day there would be something to do, whether that's training or like physio or exercises at home and rehab at night. Like even back in his day, in the late 70s, early 80s, he was doing that. So, I was born in 76 and Dad started his career in, 70, 71. So I definitely got to see that for, a good 5 or 6 years of him playing at the elite level. And what it did was really inspire me. I thought I really want to do something in sport like my dad, not necessarily back in the day I couldn't play AFL. I might have now, who knows. But, watching him do that, I thought that looks like a lot of fun. You get to compete, which I was very competitive, super competitive. You get to hang out with a lot of good people and friends that are like-minded, and you get to win lots of premierships, which Carlton did back in the day. So I enjoyed watching Dad do that.
And as a goal shooter, goal attack, was that always the position you were going to play?
Well, I started actually in defence, so didn't really start netball. I started netball at primary school and was playing kind of everywhere. And I always encourage all my athletes to do that. Don't just necessarily tunnel yourself into one position, because you need to have the variety, and it's good to play all of them because you pick up different aspects of the game that you can use in whatever end up long term being in. And then I think I was a defender early when I first started, and then the goaler was missing in our under 12 D grade or something. So I certainly didn't start in A grades, I'll tell you that much. And then I don't know, I got all the goals in. I was a bit of a rep basketballer, so I suppose the shooting element was there, and I don't think I ever moved from the goaling end after that, so I must have done well in my first hit out.
You must have. Let's fast forward to 1998, 21 years of age. You finally get selected to play for Australia. It was a bittersweet year though, wasn't it? Because you had that joy of being selected for an Australian team. But unfortunately, you were in a period of time where there were some really good shooters in Australia. Vicky Wilson, Sherelle McMahon, and the like. Commonwealth Games, you didn't get selected for. And then you also didn't get selected for the 1999 Netball World Championships. Tell us how you dealt with the adulation of being in the team and then all of a sudden the rejection of not being in it.
Yeah, I think I'll never ever forget my first selection. I think that's a really special moment because I don't know, regardless of going to the Commonwealth Games and World Champs, that no one can ever take that away from you. Once you've kind of been selected, you've actually stood up on court, you've represented the country. We all get a number, so a cap number. So I'm number 120. So being able to be a number and to be part of that illustrious group is pretty amazing. And I have friends that, you know, have only played one game for the country, but they've done that and they become part of a very special group. So there's a bit of history there. So that's a very special time. And I was able to go, Sherelle McMahon and myself made our debuts in Jamaica in 1998 for our first test cap. So that was awesome that I not only got to do that, but got to do it with a really close friend and teammate that was from Melbourne. You are right. There was just the team that I entered into at that time was a team that I had on my wall for many years. They were probably cemented for a good 10 years with the Diamonds. And Vicky Wilson, Jenny Borlase, Nicole Cusack, Katrina Wagg. There was Kath Cox, Sherelle McMahon, myself, all kind of up-and-comers trying to get in. And I sort of knew at the time, you know, I'd worked really hard to make that first selection. And then I knew there was, you know, there's an opportunity there to blood some people, and maybe that was an opportunity for me to get a go. And then I really had to bide my time. But what I had to do was really work hard as well and prove that by biding the time behind those really greats of the game, that I was ready when they needed me, and to take the opportunity if anyone put up their hand to retire or an injury happened, that I was ready to go. So I suppose it was hard at the time not to be selected in that next World Champs and Com Games team. And to her credit, Sherelle McMahon went in, and I was sort of sitting there waiting for Vicky Wilson and Jenny Borlase to retire, and was watching them and cheering them on in those particular tournaments. But behind the scenes, initially was gutted, but just, you know, spoke with a sports psych, spoke with coaches that I knew, and really worked on my game to know that my time would come if I kept working really hard. I was in that squad and I was there, and I just had to be the one with my hand up ready to go.
And it didn't take too long for that time to come for you to cement yourself in the Diamonds, and then you got the opportunity to be a part of the 2002 Manchester Commonwealth Games, a gold medal there, a silver medal in the World Championships the following year. Was a great period of your life, I would have thought, as a netballer.
Yeah, look, just an exciting time, not only for myself, but my family. When you think about it, there's over 1 million netballers that play in the game, like the game every week. So to represent them is super special. And you know, at a Commonwealth Games, it's just the most exciting thing as an elite athlete to go to a massive tournament. For us, it's Commonwealth Games. We don't have Olympics as yet. So for us, Commonwealth Games, you get to share it with a lot of other athletes and represent your country with pride. So to do that, and obviously to win a gold medal, was absolutely sensational. And then the World Champs the following year in Jamaica was really tough. It was a tough tournament to go to Jamaica and to be able to compete there. But still just a totally wonderful time. And I kind of pinch myself now. I'm like, did I really do all of that? It's like, I know I did, but sometimes when you're here with life with the children and the family, you go, wow, that was an amazing time. And I think that's probably something that I try and pass on to the younger generation that I coach, is make the most of the opportunity you have now, because life does change and things, and this is a really special time when you get to have special moments in sport.
How fortunate are you to be at Maribyrnong Sports Academy with the kids that you have, the girls and the guys available at your in your program to work with? You've got some really special athletes there.
I do. Look, you know, what I love is, you know, each stage, because you sort of get these athletes for their whole schooling in this sort of 6-7 year period, you see them grow and develop, and it happens at different stages. And just because someone comes in and maybe the star of the show at year 7 and a great player does not necessarily mean, if you don't put in the hard work and you don't listen and learn and keep developing yourself, that you're going to be there at the end. So I love seeing that challenge of people at different stages really take big steps in their careers, and seeing them flourish. But not just as athletes, as people as well, and how much they learn about the other aspects off the court, what they do in the elite development program, ADP, and how they incorporate that into what we do on the technical side of things, and sort of joining all those pieces of the puzzle together to become a really well-rounded athlete, so that when they leave, whatever time that is, they're right to go. So, that may not happen for every athlete in terms of a netballing sense, but what I want them to know is that they've got lots of skills that they may be able to do a lot of different things in their life and be able to flourish as people as well.
Eloise, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the remaining time in isolation. We look forward to seeing you back at school soon.
And I know, we're countdowning it. We're crossing it off the calendar.
Yes, we are.
I am. Can't wait to get back.
See you then.
Thanks, Tony. See ya.
All right, joining us for a chat is Nick Scott, the principal of Maribyrnong College. How are you, Nick?
Hey, Tony.
Been a trying few weeks, but finally we get to see light at the end of the tunnel.
I'm so glad that they've announced this, because it was really, really starting to feel like Groundhog Day for all of us. I know, students and staff, and no doubt parents. So now the light is at the end of the tunnel, and I feel so much better myself.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So what can we expect to happen over the next 3 to 4 weeks?
Okay, and so, obviously we've got the Year 11s and 12s coming back first in a couple of weeks' time on May 26, and I'm hoping that we see everybody back. That's the expectation. The department wants all students to return, and I can only encourage that. I understand that there could be some individual circumstances for families and students that might get in the way of that, and obviously to the extent that we can help any individual, if you're sick, then you shouldn't come to school. We'll continue to do that. But for everybody else, we're back, and that means all the teachers will be in their regular classrooms, teaching their classes, just like on the old timetable. I think we're going to really get a good fresh punch out of that. We're all going to feel a lot more energised, and things hopefully will feel fairly normal. But look, there will be some differences. We're going to have to think about how to manage hygiene. I can't emphasise enough the reality of just what that hand washing is going to mean. If you think about a school, all of the things that you could touch, test tubes, keyboards, musical instruments, door handles, your locker, your padlock, it's not possible for any school to clean all of those things all of the time. And so, of course, therefore, it's far more important that the students themselves make sure their hands are clean. Yep. If you keep your hands clean and keep your hands off your face, that's going to make quite a big difference, I think, in terms of that part of the issue. The other one's just making sure that we're not coughing over each other, and that if we are feeling unwell, that we don't come to school until it's safe to do so. But I believe that will be a minority of people, teachers or students, and that for most of us, if we're feeling well and we keep our hands clean, then school should feel pretty normal, and it'll be great to get back into just the nice routine and just the way everything flows. So we'll start that with the 11s and 12s.
Yep.
And see how we go for a couple of weeks. And then, of course, it'll be quite a different experience when everybody returns on June the 9th, because it'll feel very busy again, won't it? And we are going to have to change a few things then. So we've started to plan how it is that the students will come to school in the morning. We think, because of the Sports Academy before school experience and what we generally see in terms of students coming to school, that there's enough of a stagger. We don't have everybody flooding the school at 5 minutes to 9. And so we think it's probably going to work all right for students to come at the same time in the morning, but it's not going to work for all 1,300 students to try and leave at the same time at the end of the day. So we've consulted the tram schedules, and at the moment we're looking at least years 7 and 8, and perhaps even year 9 will be dismissed early for the remainder of term 2 at least. So for those last 3 weeks when they've returned, and that they may leave at about 3 o'clock. If we have a bell that goes for them at 3, they can get to their lockers, get out, get on an earlier tram that's before the school normally finishes, and that'll give them the opportunity to get away. And then the senior students who they need to be here longer and be in their full classes can come out at 3:15. and get on that next run of tram. So that will break up the end of the day. And then for the other people who are either catching a car home, going home with mum and dad in the car or walking, they'll need to just get out of the school as quickly as possible and go to where cars might be parked. I will give everybody a heads up. It's not going to be inside the school. The government's made it quite clear that we're not to have parents coming into the school unnecessarily. They basically will need a pretty good reason to be in the school grounds at all. And that would include dropping off students and picking them up. We're fortunate to have places like the car park over near the aquatic centre at High Point, which could work as a really good drop-off place for people. So we'll talk more about that with everybody when we get a bit more clarity on it. But that's going to be one of the big things that will feel different, no doubt. Commuting to school, commuting from school, and how we break up that so that we just don't have too many people at once.
All right, joining us now is Mark McAllion, the Sports Director at Maribyrnong Sports Academy. Welcome back, Mark.
Thanks, Tony.
Didn't think we'd have you back a week after last week's interview, but we have, because there's good news. The government has said that we can return back to school over the next month or so with our Year 11 and 12s and then our junior and middle school. How's that going to look for our academy students?
Well, yeah, it is great news. We just wrapped that we're going to have student athletes back in the place very soon. So up until the time that student athletes can come back, the remote program that we've been offering will continue. So obviously up until the 26th of May for Year 11s and 12s and the 9th of June for the 7s to 10s. And then once student athletes are back on campus, we'll work with the Department of Education to work out what our tech training programs could look like from those dates forward. But at this point, we're certainly anticipating that we will be rolling out a tech training program once student athletes are back on deck.
And I think, Mark, it's important for our parents and our students to realise that we will take our advice from the education department, not necessarily from the sporting bodies themselves.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, we're a school, and yeah, our guidance will come from the education department. Obviously, their guidelines are being developed by the state government, who are also developing the sporting guidelines. So you'd assume that a lot of them will be consistent. But yeah, ultimately, we'll take guidance from the Department of Education on what we can and can't do on campus when students are back. So we'll provide that information to parents. And yeah, we'll develop our programs within those guidelines, and just, yeah, really excited to see a bit of light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the main thing, is that we actually have some sort of hope that something will happen shortly. I think we really need to praise our students and also our coaches for the work that they've achieved in the last 4 or 5 weeks with their online tech training and the like. And even though it hasn't been a normal outdoors run and jump sort of type program, I think everyone's taken to it quite well.
Absolutely, yeah. Just massive congratulations to, as you said, all the staff and students that have actually engaged and made this work as well as it possibly could in the circumstances. So very happy that it has been able to work to some degree, and people have still been able to be engaged in the academy program. And yeah, really looking forward to getting back. Probably the challenge now is that couple of weeks between now and when we do get back, that everyone does stay engaged and keeps up to date with the ADP programs that are being provided and the challenges and the different things that are being done in tech training as well. So when we do get back, everyone's in the best shape possible to hit the ground running.